Hey everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Market Mindset, where we dig into the psychology behind the moves today so that we can better understand tomorrow. And today we're going to take a look at the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500 in pretty much every market has opened up today with a huge gap, whether it was up, down, etc. Pretty much everything had a gap going into this week. Even the Forex market saw a lot of really big gaps. So something to keep in mind that really, until they can find some continuation, those open areas of interest, in this case for the S&P down to 81.5, it's going to be a magnet for them to want to fill those weekend gap areas. But, that being said, with such a huge gap higher on the S&P and several other markets, you're very likely, if they do pull back, going to see continuation, right? Buyers are going to buy the deep pullbacks into the attempted gap fill, etc., because it's such a huge gap. It's very unlikely that it's going to fill today, probably not even tomorrow or the day after. Now, provided we do have elections tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Things can go a little bit crazy, but all things considered, you're looking for, in this case on the S&P, a huge gap up. You're looking for a pullback and continuation to go with that gap because it's very likely going to continue. Even if it dove down to start the morning off, you'd probably still find buyers there. Now, a little bit of a roadblock that they had, we opened up and we opened with a very weak candle. Lots of wick on the bottom, lots of wick on the top, not really showing us any conviction to one side. And that could tell us we may end up going into a range. It really depends on how they want to follow through with it. They form a strong bull bar into a follow-up bull bar closing on its highs. So the buyers are obviously taking over the market, and it remains to be seen what the sellers can do so far, because at this point the only candle that the sellers have is really weak. So what the reaction is to that bear move is going to be very important. But we also know that the buyers have pushed up and they're staying above even the first candle of the day. So likely the next pullback is going to get bought aggressively. So we get a strong bear candle. It goes bear engulfing. Lots of traders will be looking for a morning reversal. In our case, we are looking to buy into it, assuming that it's going to fail, given the overall pending bullish strength. If you didn't take the initial entry, it did follow up with another strong, beautiful bull candle to allow you to jump in and ride the rest of the move out. If you still didn't get into the trade, we went into a slight little bit of range here. We can see that they tried breaking above it, and as soon as they were able to close above those double highs up there, they couldn't close back underneath it. Strong bull into a doji, into a trap low strong bull, into a strong bull, into a doji. Very big clue that there is an obvious shelf or ceiling, depending on what side you're coming in at this, at 2113. So the fact that they turned back up after a bear trap underneath a doji, closing a bull candle right back on its high again, if you're not in long yet, that's a really good reason to start jumping in for the move to go back up to the highs. Now, the market slams higher and gets a little bit exhausted. That's a huge move, and it's at the end of a trend. This trend has been going on now for a very long time, and the fact that we're getting the biggest candle of the day now instead of, back here, that's a little bit of a concern. So more likely, this is going to be a lot of buyers taking profit, and that's going to cause a pullback. Now, the pullback, the scenario in this case is we still want to be buyers, right? As long as we're staying above that wedge top, this is a breakout pullback looking for continuation, but we need a really good signal to do it because all of the buyers are exiting most of their position up here. They push down and they hold the top of that wedge high. They fail to close underneath it. They try breaking underneath it for a trap and immediately shove right back up in again. That's another reason to finalize the move for another good run back towards the highs. And in this case, you're looking at more of a wedge type target, and that is exactly where that candle ran off to. So just a beautiful collection of possible setups here on the S&P. Great opportunities, and with the elections tomorrow, we got to be a little bit careful going into this week. Today, we saw a heavy slowdown. It felt like it was bone dry, nothing going on for most of the time. There were very infrequent trades that we found today, and tomorrow, it's probably going to be much the same. We may find a little bit of whip back and forth, depending on what happens for the elections, so just play it a little bit safe going into tomorrow. Outside of that, though, hopefully you learned something, hopefully you found it interesting, and we'll see you next time.